leads at the battle of second place between, or Allinger Jr. leads at the battle is between Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal, with Emerson Fittipaldi closing in, as well as Mario Andretti. We've mentioned how the altitude here in Denver forces these teams to make changes for this race. Danny Sullivan tells us about the altitude's effort in our tips from the cockpit.
Well, of course, the biggest thing here is we're at 5,300 feet. That's higher than we race anywhere else. One of the major problems is the heat with the car. They overheat because water has a lower boiling point at altitude than it does at sea level, now by about 30 degrees. Compounded with the fact that we're on a short, tight track, so we're never getting up higher. I think the fastest we go is 150 miles an hour, which sounds a lot to people out there if you're driving down the freeway, but 150 miles an hour to us on a circuit is not very fast, plus the fact that we only get that one place, so we're not shoving much air through the radiators for a very long period of time to cool everything down. So on the cars, you'll see a lot of areas where behind the radiators where it's cut out bigger to get more flow through the radiators to cool the cars down. You'll also see bigger brake ducts on the front and the rear because the braking here is so hard and it tends to boil the brakes a little bit easier up here, and there are so many short straightaways, short stops, quick on the brake. I think we're only averaging under 80 miles an hour as our lap average. That's very, very difficult on the brakes, so cooling is probably the major consideration here in Denver.
Well, Danny Sullivan just pitted, and in doing so, he fell from 11th to 21st position. Eddie Cheever, as he challenges John Andretti. This is a fight for 7th place. Willie Ribbs should be coming off that corner just behind this battle as well. So fights up and down the field in 2nd place and also back here at 7th on the streets of Denver, Colorado. John Andretti, remember, won the very first race of the season in his first drive for the Hall BDS team. So he's a proud driver who is looking for his 2nd run. On the other hand, Eddie Cheever in that black and red Target car, well, he hasn't yet scored his first victory in the IndyCars and is in fact anxious to do so.
Well, let's just remind people of one thing. The CART has mandated 2 pit stops for this race, whereas some of these cars could have done a little bit different game plan and done it with 1. 2 pit stops. So the game plans for the entire race are going to be a little bit mixed up or a little bit not understood until we get towards the latter part of 3/4 through the race, and then we'll have a better feeling.
In fact, there was some indication that there was dissatisfaction. Scott Goodyear comes into the pits, and in doing so, they take the cowling off the car. So this is a lengthy and a most serious pit stop for Scott Goodyear. Some of the teams were very unhappy with what they felt was artificial meddling with the rules, enforcing 2 pit stops, when in fact many of the teams felt that the cars could complete this race on 1. The battle continues for 2nd place between Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal. There comes Fittipaldi through, who seems most pleased to just wait station. And just back from him, Mario Andretti runs in 5th.
PC Sports.
Michael Andretti continues to run in 2nd place. And at the front of the field, it is Al Unser Jr. Now, we are thus far 11 laps deep, Gary, 13 laps deep in this race. And here is a great fight for 7th place between Cheever and John Andretti. Mario Andretti tapped the wall in the very first corner of the first lap, and in doing so, they brought out a full course yellow. When they came back to the action, Michael Andretti led, and then Al Unser Jr. was able to get past Michael, and Michael fell back to 2nd place, now being chased by Rahal. This is John Andretti being chased by Eddie Cheever. Nice little fight here. Cheever made one of the first of 2 stops that he's going to make. Now he's going to try and run inside John Andretti. John pulls wide to get together, and they touch. They touch. John Andretti is sent spinning, and Eddie Cheever moves on.
It's inconceivable to me, Paul, that John Andretti did not see Eddie Cheever starting by him on the inside.
Now, Sam, I think what you're going to find, or what we saw there, is the fact that Cheever was up alongside. He really had the racing line.
Yeah, and John Andretti has some serious damage. The nose is off the front of that car, and the question is whether or not the brake lines are damaged. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul, let's update you on several other drivers that have had problems befall them. Scott Goodyear, with a severe water leak, has dropped out of the race. They're continuing to try and bring the car back. Danny Sullivan. Now, we talked to Pat Patrick and his team, and they said that they have got a severe handling problem, and they are not sure where to even begin to attack it. They don't think it's tires. They think they've gone totally the wrong way and chassis. Gary?
Jack, we've got problems for another of the front runners, Emerson Fittipaldi, reporting problems with his braking. That was a concern for everybody. They think it's the rear brakes, but Roger Penske, Chuck Sprague, and the team here indicate they're going to try to leave him out to handle the course as best he can, as long as he can. But braking problems for Fittipaldi. Paul?
Well, Bobby, answer some of the things that you most definitely predicted there. Brakes again because the air is not dense, even though you see, if you look at the back of Emerson Fittipaldi's car, inside the rear wheels as well as the front, some very large scoops that direct air down onto the brake discs and pads. It's still really not enough at this altitude.
No, and the rear brakes get the hottest, Paul. What happens is that the brake fluid boils, and it only boils in half of the system. There's two master cylinders, one for the front, one for the back. The back ones are probably boiling the fluid, not having the brakes, and that's the reason you watch him locking up the front when he does.
The battle continues in second place as Bobby Rahal tries everything he can to worry Michael Andretti. One car stopped on the course. That's Didier Taze, the leader card entry. Taze has been running most of the road courses in this machine this year. And he's over off the racing line. Shouldn't be a danger there. No indication why that car may have stopped on the course. Most accomplished driver. Here is John Andretti back in the pits, and you see they have already fixed a new nose on the car. Here's Jack.
Well, Paul, what they had to do is completely replace the front end. The nose section was sheared off right by the brake cylinder, by the brake reservoirs. But with the new design of these cars, you actually can replace the wing and the nose cone in one full piece. They completed that entire operation in a little less than 2.5 minutes.
Well, John Andretti back in the fight, and look at this. John Andretti comes right out with his combatant of earlier, Eddie Cheever, and Cheever is closing in on Scott Pruitt in what now is a battle for 6th place. Now, John Andretti most certainly is not part of the fight because he's fallen way back through the field and is in fact running 23rd right now, but he is still with this battle with a nice fresh nose on the car.
Remember that Cheever's experience in Formula One, running courses like Monaco, stands him in very good stead on these tight courses. He finished 3rd earlier this year at Long Beach. He is obviously having another strong day. They did some testing here at altitude during this week, or earlier this week, at a small track near Denver. It's obviously paying off.
Okay, also keep in mind, though, Eddie Cheever, the man right there we see in the picture, was the guy that pushed Mario Andretti into the wall at the start, the first turn. So Eddie was a little bit hot on that first turn there, Sam.
He's aggressive. He wants to make it all happen very fast. He's a guy who's basically underachieved so far this year. They've gotten some testing under their belt. They want to make it pay off for them right now.
Cheever smoothly around Pruitt. Now John Andretti wants to try Scott Pruitt. Remember, in Cheever's car, Chevrolet power, but Judd power in Scott Pruitt's machine, in a car designed here. Boy, look at that, as Michael Andretti is battling once again with Rahal. We'll get back to the Eddie Cheever situation. Michael Andretti and Rahal are at it once again.
This is incredibly volatile because, of course, these are the two major combatants in the championship. Rahal leading Michael Andretti in the championship, but behind him here is in a position to be very conservative. He is not being conservative. He is trying to press Michael Andretti into a mistake and get by him.
And Bobby Unser, we're seeing two slightly different lines out of these drivers.
Yes, you certainly are, because Rahal is getting the air disturbed just a little bit following Michael. But what you can see, because he is so close to Michael all the time, that he's actually handling and working a little bit better. So he's just waiting for Michael to make a little bit of a mistake. He's not able to outbrake him so far, though.
Al Unser Jr. is the leader. This is the battle for second. Al Unser Jr., the defending champion here.
Yeah, and of course it's an ideal situation for the Craco Gallus team, because they've got their man Al Unser way out front, which means that Michael Andretti cannot pick up that bonus point for leading the most laps, which he has picked up 5 separate